Mariko Tamaki and Viktor Bogdanovic finish up their murder mystery as Batman is possessed by Vile's Parasite and told to kill Mr. Worth, but the hero fights his own mind and body to prevent that from happening while Huntress races to save her friend. Mariko Tamaki finally finishes up her huge story arc, and boy, it was kind of a letdown. Like the last few issues, it really felt it wasn't utilizing its premises to its full potential, and here we have a Batman who is battling his own self, both in mind and body, which one would think would be the crux of the issue, and like the jail issue, a chance for Bruce to sort of reaffirm his role as Batman while at a low point at the story. But it's not that, and the whole Parasite possession thing just felt like a way to get that Cthulhu looking Batman image, which is a cool image, but that's the extent of it. It's just a cool image. Speaking of Vile, what an utterly wasted, unique villain. We barely learned anything about him, despite him actually getting a full backup detailing his backstory, which again didn't really explain much about the Parasite, and he's just killed off unceremoniously here, off page as well. We don't even learn what that Parasite thing was, and whether it was on from Earth or whether it was an alien or anything like that, and the heroes don't even seem to want to know, which is kind of strange despite Batman's whole paranoia and preparedness sort of thing. You'd think he'd want to know where this thing came from and why it was there and everything, but no, he doesn't want to. At least Mr. Worth seemingly got away, and so there's a chance for him to come back at a later arc, since I did like him being a dark mirror not to Batman but to Bruce Wayne, which in turn gave Bruce some play in the plot, and he got a lot to do in this, which I thought was quite great. Viktor Bogdanovic again just delivers some fantastic looking artwork, and like I said before, that Cthulhu Batman image is really damn cool, especially how Bogdanovic used it as a sort of looming giant over Worth, symbolizing his fear, despite the man saying he didn't have fear for this Batman. He very obviously did. Detective Comics issue 1042, like the last few issues, has been quite the letdown, even more so as it's the finale for a bunch of plots that have been running since Tamaki took over the book. There was lots of build up for very little payoff with these new villains, and I was thoroughly disappointed at how new villains like Vile were handled. I'm going to give this issue a 5 out of 10. Detective Comics issue 1042 finds Batman surrounded by the jury's men, with many wondering how often they get a chance to kill Batman. One of Penguin's men reminds them that that's not the plan, since they need to get him into the van and take him downtown, then wake up Vile so he can put on a show. Batman meanwhile feels something with sharp edges reaching across his brain as Worth asks how they'll know if Batman has the Parasite. Penguin says that it's not an exact science, but they should see the madness come to the surface soon, but they might need to give Vile a shock to see some real results. Bruce begins to see Vile and how he's reaching for something to hold onto in his consciousness. Batman feels like he can't hold it back as Vile tells his guards Batman is now his. He suddenly attacks, infecting another guard as one walks in, wanting an update, but finds the supposedly comatose Vile attacking his partner. Penguin knows a rabid Batman at the center of Gotham will be quite the story, as his now infected men storm the warehouse in a rage-induced haze, firing on Worth and Penguin. Batman meanwhile succumbs to the Parasite as the jury looks to evacuate the building. Worth says that they aren't going anywhere until he gets what is promised, but Oswald tases him, throwing him from the balcony as he knows he must take his leave, and Worth's vendetta against Batman and Wayne will have to wait for another day. The Parasite in Batman bursts from his mouth as rage takes over him, with Vile demanding he find Worth and kill him. Mr. Worth is tackled by the infected Batman, but easily throws the hero through some grates. Outraged, Vile would try and touch him with his sickness since he's not human. Vile demands Batman take the man down as Worth escapes to the roof, trying to contact his people as Batman again confronts him. Vile knows that Worth will be theirs as Roland tells Batman to stop, since he is still a man to fear and the infected hero doesn't scare him. He pulls out his hand cannon, knowing whatever the poison made him, no one can touch him. He pulls the trigger, but nothing happens since the gun is empty, prompting him to try and hit Batman, but the hero beats the man down, dragging him to the edge of the roof as Batman fights for the control, knowing that he will not kill Mr. Worth. Vile knows that he will, since it's his hunger he now obeys. Batman dangles Worth off the building, but Bruce again refuses to kill the man. Bruce loses full control and Vile drops Roland, but at the last minute, Bruce fires a grapple around the man's hand, sending him crashing down into some crates, as Oracle meanwhile contacts Huntress, wanting to know what's happening. Huntress has arrived at the warehouse, finding utter carnage happening thanks to the infected men. Helena can't see Batman as she tells Oracle that there is some three-way war happening between Penguin, Worth, and Vile. She has a plan to find Batman since she can see Vile's victims and has a connection to them, and right now she can see a lot of them. Huntress races through the fights knowing that she can see Batman is there. Batman meanwhile is ordered by Vile to kill the Huntress, but Batman refuses, cuffing his own hands as Huntress finds Vile upstairs. The villain says that she will die today, but Helena knows that she is done hunting down his nightmare spawn, and this ends now. Batman crashes through the window behind her, attacking Helena, but she easily throws him into Vile. Vile spits out the Parasite, which tries to lunge at Huntress, but she shoots it dead with her crossbow. Vile's body begins to break down as later Helena knows that was one of the more horrifying bits of nightmare for the superhero brain files. She tells Bruce that she doesn't understand how he managed to both not kill Worth and tie his hands so he wouldn't kill anyone else. Bruce says there's been too many near-death experiences for him where his brain has been deprived of oxygen and his body has adapted. They leave some flowers by Sarah Worth's grave as Bruce knows that he wasn't even sure what he had done until he saw Huntress, and whatever had taken control of Vile was dead on the warehouse floor. He knows that Hugh died in hospital several hours later as Helena can't believe they infected him with Vile serum. Batman knows it's not a great plan, but it might have diluted the effect or delayed its full potency. Bruce asks if Helena still can see visions of his victims, but Helena only gets flashes, but they aren't as strong as they were before, equating them to deja vu. Bruce notices that Helena has more flowers, asking who they are for, but she'll only say they are for a friend. Bruce leaves her, knowing that Helena knows where to find him, as Deb meanwhile talks with her friend about Worth being still alive despite the 4-story drop. Soon she is delivered a gift, finding it is a bottle of good whiskey. She reads the card, finding that it was very neighborly of Bruce Wayne to send her this. In the hospital morgue, an autopsy is conducted on Vile, with one doctor knowing that this is the most disgusting job in Gotham. The other tells his partner to grow up as they cut into Vile's head, equating his brain to Swiss cheese as they find what looks to be eggs. The eggs fall onto the ground as they wonder how they are to report this. More eggs begin falling out of Vile's body as some move towards drains, disappearing into the sewers.